Well, what I'd like to talk to today or in the next several things is kind of the structure that God has set up that you and I, and all men and women, and then believers operate in. So I'm going to talk about the four covenants that
Okay.
I think impact or have impacted mankind and how we operate. And then I'll give a quick overview, and then we will probably go into each one detail. And then after that, after we understand the four covenants, the four that I would call primary covenants that govern the way we work, then we'll go into how we interpret the Bible. And certainly the covenants play into that. And then the next step I would think would be how we operate as a new covenant believer.
Yeah.
So we're a new creation. So what? Hey, we're righteous, 100% righteous, 100% holy, faultless,
On good
blameless.
day.
Yeah, on all days. Colossians 1:22 calls us blameless and faultless.
Right.
Is that just poetic
Right.
something? Or does that mean
future?
Yeah, is that future? Is that in eternity? Is that right now? It is right now. And the so what behind it, we have to understand the way the Lord has designed his creation. What I mean by that, there is a legal structure within the way God has designed the creation, both the seen and the unseen world. The ones we'll talk about real quickly are the covenant of Adam, the covenant of Abraham, the law of Moses, and then the new covenant. And we'll talk about those four. But they do the legal structures. If you and I were to go out and start a business, we could form ourselves as an LLC. We could form ourselves as an S corporation. We could do it as a sole proprietorship. And I'm sure there's other things we can do. But whatever we choose, that structure determines how we interact with the federal government, how we interact with the state and local governments, our taxes and how they're done, how we interact with our customers, and how we interact with each other within the structure, our employees, employers, and different our suppliers. It determines how we interact. If we were to form an LLC and then go out and act like an S corporation, it just wouldn't work. We wouldn't pay the proper taxes. Our bookkeeper would go nuts. It just would never work. I feel like that's something that we as the Western church are doing wrong. We're kind of going, well, righteous is I'm righteous, then maybe that's a someday. I don't really understand how being righteous now makes much difference. I have authority. Supposedly I hear that preached or taught. But so what about that authority to do what within what constraints? So there is this legal structure that's set up in God's kingdom. Like I said, it'll help us accurately interpret the Bible. There's things in here that apply to us. There are things in here that don't apply to us. How do we know what does and what doesn't?
Mm.
We'll look at when we get in the law of Moses, just as an example. In Deuteronomy 21, it says if your son dishonors you, then there's the process you go through the elders and you go stone him to death. Does that apply to us?
Kids.
Exactly. None of us would have survived childhood if we follow that, right? So what does that, why do we not do that?
Right.
And why would we, and what's the reason for that? If you understand the covenants, then it makes perfect sense. The other thing is, by understanding, this will enable what I put here, the righteous, holy, faultless, blameless new creation to operate properly within God's design. He has, in fact, put us in charge, mankind in charge of the earth, and the new covenant believer is in charge of his whole creation.